Welcome to cooking cheap, easy, and tasty meals. Okay, we're going to make a different style of pralines. These don't use Karo, and I'm not going to use a candy thermometer. Start with 1 cup of granulated sugar. This is golden sugar, which is a little different from regular granulated sugar. It has a little molasses in it. But you can use regular granulated sugar. It'll work just as well. Next, we're going to put 1 cup of brown sugar. So this is a ½ cup at a time, and we're going to really push it into the container to make sure we get really packed ½ cup of it. Next, we add 1/2 cup of evaporated milk. Now we're going to stir all this together until it's mixed. Okay, it's mixed pretty well at that point. The next thing I'm going to do is turn the heat on to medium-high. On this, I'm going to set it to 7.5. And we're going to stir this. The next step is to get this to boiling. Once it is boiling, we're going to wait 4 minutes from the point it begins to boil. And at that point, we'll take it off the heat and add all the ingredients. This is an induction stove, so it's going to heat it pretty fast. When I'm making the other pralines I make, I cook them really slow to leave it time for the flavor to develop. But in this, you put in brown sugar, so it's not as much of a need for you to develop the flavor. If you have a candy thermometer and you cook it to soft ball slowly, you probably will develop more flavor. But I'm doing this for people who don't have candy thermometers. That's getting close now. We're almost to the stage where it's boiling. Give it a second more. See how the bubbles are really starting to form. Not there quite yet. Got to stir it to keep it from sticking and burning. So just keep an eye on it. This is extremely hot, so be careful with it. Okay, that's boiling. After 4 minutes, take it off the stovetop, move this out of the way. Okay, now we're going to add butter and vanilla. I'm going to add between a teaspoon and a tablespoon of vanilla. You can measure it if you want. I'm going to stir in the butter till it melts. I'm going to add 2 handfuls of pecans. And now I'm going to start to stir. What you're looking for is for it to begin to thicken. When that happens, it's time to get them out. You can roast your pecans before if you want, but I didn't. I figure putting them in a hot candy is enough. It's been about 2 minutes. Still pretty hot. It is getting a little stiffer, a little tougher to stir. Be sure you have a strong utensil, otherwise it'll break. Okay, now I'm going to start taking them out. And since you're not using a candy thermometer and you're doing it by feel, you'll probably have to do a few batches of this to get them exactly the way you want. And as it starts to thicken, it gets harder to get these out of here. So you got to move fast once you start taking them out. A few times making them and you'll get it down. You'll know exactly what you want. If you do it with a cavity thermometer, it's going to be at softball. When you get it to softball, which is somewhere, depending on the cavity thermometer, should be about 240 something degrees, 43 or 44 degrees. I think it's between 235 and 245, but I think most people take them out at about 243 or so. And at that point, it's pretty consistent. You still have to stir it. You still have to decide when to start spooning them out. But it's not quite as bad, wondering if you got it as far as you need to get it. These are just about right, I think. They seem to be getting stiff in the pan, which is good. Now, depending on the size pralines you can get, you're probably going to get between 18 and 24. Let's see, I'm getting pretty close to 18. I made a few a little too large, so I'm probably not going to make it, but 16 would be nice, considering how big I made some of them. Now, I'm going to set that there and try and scoop this up a little bit. See, that's about 2 right there. So we're going to get 1. Notice these don't have any pecans. If you use a mixture of chopped and whole pecans, it'll affect how much you get out of here too. So, there we go. Now, when I was a kid, this would be the part I wanted, right here. But we're not going to do that. We're going to put that right on top of that one and get that little size. Maybe save just a little for the cook. See what it tastes like. It tastes a little different than the ones I make that are my grandmother's recipe. Are really very creamy. These have a little more crunchy. Since you're not adding baking soda and you're not adding cane syrup, you're more likely to have it crystallize a little bit on you. But that's not really a bad thing if that's the kind of praline you like. These are going to cool, and once they're cool, we'll be able to take them off and put them in some sort of packaging so we can give them as gifts. So there we go. Pralines without using a candy thermometer. When you make these, if they don't get hard, it means you didn't get quite hot enough. So you may have to experiment with that. Okay, here's the final product. A plate full of pralines. The advantage of cooking the pralines this way is you don't have to have a candy thermometer, and it's a fairly quick process. I hope you enjoy them. Have a good day. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe and give us a like. Thank you.